Okay, and now I'm gonna finish up the rest of the questions I've been getting. I am sorry, it's been a little bit delayed with the Nanjing day trip yesterday. So I got a lot of questions about the internship. Basically, CET has partnerships with different companies that are in Shanghai. And through CET, you can select that you want the internship elective. They'll reach out to you. They'll give you a pamphlet telling you about the different the companies and what the past interns have said, and then you can select, I think it was your top 3, maybe top 5 options, and then you're gonna give them a CV. They will look at that, and then they can decide if they want you or not, and then they'll tell you which companies are interested and try and set up an interview for you. And there's just one round of interviews. And the interview process itself, after you give them your CV, for me at least, it was just a short conversation about kind of my education background, why I was interested in the company, and then kind of trying to figure out what you're going to do during your time there. It was pretty chill. It was not like you're being cased, at least for me. I don't know for if you're doing like working with a consulting group, if that would be more intense, but for mine, and I think generally it was not too intense of an interview, and I wouldn't worry about it. I'm definitely still happy with the amount of time I'm gonna have to travel. It's just in terms of day trips, I think, that I don't have as much time. Like for example, some of my friends like don't really have class on Tuesday after their Chinese class, so that allows them to basically go on a day trip that day, but I just don't have a free day in my schedule like that. I have like a nice block on one of my days that I like to go to like a coffee shop or like explore Shanghai a little bit, but it's not like enough time for me to do a full day trip because I have class at 6:30 that night. I'm happy with it. Like we still have breaks, we still have weekends, and like we end pretty early on Fridays because we just have Chinese class, or if it's a Chinese test week, then you have Chinese test till 11 and then Chinese table. But I think that generally there's a lot of time to travel on the weekends, and there's a lot of things that are nearby Shanghai, so pretty accessible, unless you're like flying. But even then, people are flying multiple hours to go see things just for the weekend here. My internship is at Zianshine Solar, and I've been doing a lot of research on both like Southeast Asian markets and trying to figure out if they like want to expand to markets in those countries and if it's like favorable or not. And I presented for that last Thursday. And then I've also been just kind of researching marketing by other solar companies that are very successful, what kind of technology they're promoting, that kind of thing. I think it depends internship to internship. If you're working at like a museum, sometimes you're just kind of working the desk. And so I think looking at the descriptions carefully and talking to your interviewer is a good way to figure out what you're going to be doing in that time and figuring out if that internship is right for you. Outside of my internship seminar, I am taking Chinese class, which everyone takes, and it's 6 credits. And then I'm taking Chinese economics and Chinese food and culture. I like them both a lot. I couldn't recommend it more. I like my schedule, even though obviously it's a little busy, but like I've been really enjoyed the Chinese economics class. It's very interesting to learn about like a different perspective and like what has made China so successful. And the Chinese food and culture is just, I feel like, a great way to totally get immersed in the culture, and the field trips are really fun, and it's nice to like go out into the city and not just have to be stuck in a classroom most of the time for that class. Okay, so this was one of the concerns I had going into this. WhatsApp is blocked by the firewall. So Apple Messages is an option still. Everything still comes through on there. So I don't know, if you're based in America, you should be totally fine using Apple Messages. WeChat, they can also use, it depends on also like what phone you're going to end up using primarily. If you end up using a Chinese phone primarily, then I would recommend that. I've been able to get by having my Chinese phone act as kind of like a secondary and using my US phone as much as possible, but I would say most of my friends primarily use their Chinese phone, and so in that case you may want to have your family all on WeChat, or you just may not be in contact with them as much. I did have an interview for the internship. It wasn't a Zoom, it was on WeChat. It was a video call, and I think I found out, I want to say like 2 days later, but I'll say less than a week for sure, after my interview. And the like timeline of when you like end up scheduling your interview really differs placement to placement. For me, I was like late January. My friend got interviewed late December. I had people that I know in the program that didn't get interviewed until they got here, so that's just one thing. I was a little stressed that mine was not happening, but it's just they're all on different timelines. Yeah. Okay, this is the last question I have. What made you want to choose a Chinese major? I think this person means Chinese minor. I am only a Chinese minor. I am half Chinese, so I've always had an interest in like my family's culture. But I also just think that Chinese culture is very interesting, and the language is really interesting. And I also just enjoy learning languages, so I think I knew I wanted to spend some time in college doing this. And I'm hoping that it's going to be useful in the future. I want to go into solar, and China has majority of the like top photovoltaic manufacturers. So, and even just in chemistry labs, like there's a lot of Chinese speakers. So I think it's already a skill that served me well, and I'm hoping after this experience and after the minor that it will serve me well in the future.